Okay, welcome back to this Excel eSports course. We are in the programming chapter and on the final video, which is example solves. And I've got two good cases to go through that I think really highlight the power of everything we've learned in this chapter and before. Although this is the last video in the course, I will do one final wrap up and conclusion video to point you kind of where to go next to continue the journey if you've enjoyed this series. So with that said, let's get to it. We are going to solve flower power here. And I've touched on a couple of elements of this in some of the other videos, but let's recap. You have a garden of tulips and sunflowers. You take a pivot point and everything either one step away or two steps away will swap. So tulips will swap to sunflowers, sunflowers will swap to tulips. One complication, you can't do a flip on one of these X's, and if you do a flip around them, they don't change. And if we just have a quick look at some of the questions, we could start to do this with kind of the traditional approach. However, by question 3, we get into things like testing all possible pivot locations to see which is best, and then we get to doing many pivots in a row. So this is kind of the recursion stuff we covered, repeating an action over and over. So if we can make a lambda that does this flip for us, then the rest of the case is going to be pretty quick because we can just recursively apply that lambda or do it through the map function to test all pivot locations and see which is best. As you can probably gather, this case is also going to have some distance calculations, so it's also going to help us recap some of the stuff from the maps chapter. Not map the function, but maps as in distances and directions. So let's do it. The first question is asking us how many sunflowers are in the garden, so we can just say count if this is an S. Then question 2, we're going to apply a pivot and then count how many sunflowers. So this is where we need to start doing our calculations, and we might as well just make a function that does this for us because we know what's coming later. So let's grab this stuff and put it on a new tab over here and start to think about how we're going to do this. Now I like to make a let and turn it into a lambda first. So this is going to be a good recap of let, which was our first video in this programming chapter. So I'm going to say let garden be all of this stuff, addresses be all of this stuff, our pivot be this, and our size be 1. So that's our pivot size. Now I'm setting up all these variables because I know in the lambda these will be the inputs to my function. Later on in the case we know the pivot size increases to 2. With this method we could make it whatever we like. Then let's start to define some things. So first I will need to know the distance from the pivot point to all of the other locations. So let's say distance, and we know that's going to be the row of indirect of the pivot minus the row of indirect of the addresses. So adds, I called it. And I missed the bracket there, so let's fix that. And then the distance here does not include diagonals, it's only up, down, left, right. And if we remember from the maps video, to calculate distance up, down, left, right, we have to add the column difference as well. So let's change that to column and this to column. And we also need to take this absolute because we don't want negatives coming into the distance calculation here. We just want the absolute distance from one place to another. So there's our distance formula. And now, before we carry on, let's just have a look what that looks like. So if I say distance, then we get a distance for all of these addresses from this pivot point. Just to visualize this a little nicer, I'm going to say wrap rows this of 3. So that gives us the addresses. Let's copy it and apply it to this. And we can see our pivot point is C1. So this is coming back as a distance of 1 and this is coming back as a distance of 2. Great, so that's working fine. Okay, now we're set up quite nicely. All we need to do is check if the distance is less than our defined size, so 1. If it's less than or equal to 1, then we swap S's to T's and T's to S's. However, we have one complication, and that's that the X's won't change and we can't pivot on an X. So let's just check if we're trying to pivot on an X. And to do that, I'm just going to X lookup the pivot in here and return here, and then check whether it's an X. So let's say pivot on X is going to be X lookup the pivot on the addresses and give us the garden. So does that equal an X? And let's just spill that output to say pivot on X. That's going to give us a true or false, so it's a false. If I change this to B3, then we should get a true. Yes, we're trying to pivot on an X. Okay, and at this point we're set up quite nicely. So we can say if the pivot's on an X, then just give us the garden, i.e. don't do anything. Otherwise, we need to check which are below our distance and do the amendments. So we're going to say if the distance is less than or equal to the size, so i.e. we're in the pivot radius. Then if the garden is an x, give us an x. Otherwise, if the garden is an s, give us a t. Otherwise, give us an s. So let's just recap because we've got a lot of ifs going on here. If the pivot's on an x, just give us back the garden. If we're less than the size, then if it's an x, still give us an x. If it's an s, give us a t. Otherwise, give us an s. And now we want to find the spot in our formula where we're not in the pivot size. So I can click here to say kind of, if the distance is less than the pivot, here's all the trues. So I've got my brackets correct there. So if I put one more bracket there, I can just kind of click these things here. So if that, here's my trues. So now we're outside of the garden being in the size. So just give us the garden back. And that is a nice let set up to do our pivot. So you can see this one pivots, so does this one, and so does this one. So quite a lot going on here. Let's now turn it into a lambda. So we can say lambda, and our inputs are going to be what we had before. So it's going to be garden, addresses, a pivot point, and a size. And then we can put the let on the outside here. And then let's close the lambda. So that will give us a calc error, but we've made ourselves a custom function that does this flip thing. So let's copy that, go into the name manager, new, let's call it pivot. There's our function. And now let's hope it worked, and then we can do the whole rest of the case pretty easily. So let's say equals pivot. What's our garden? Well, it's this. What's our addresses? Here. And let's lock that. What's our pivot point? Is here. And our pivot size is 1. And there we go. We've done our flip. And the question is asking how many sunflowers are there. So I can say sum of minus minus that equals a sunflower. So there's 5. So let's copy that formula into here. And there we go. It looks like our lambda's working perfectly. Okay, so question 2 gave us a really nice recap of let and lambda, which were the first 2 videos in this programming chapter. The third video was on lambda helper functions, and that's exactly what we're going to recap in this question 3. And this is asking us to find the best pivot location to get the most tulips that we can. So we want to pivot on all 9 of these locations, count the tulips, and find what's best. And this is the perfect situation to use the map formula, because map will iterate through a number of inputs, exactly as the question asks. So let's set up our pivot. So our pivot is this garden. Our addresses is this. Our pivot, well, we want to test all of them. For now, let's just put A1 in, and our size is a pivot size of 1. So here's our pivoted garden. Now we want to use the map function to run that through all possible pivot locations, but we can't do it when we're spilling an array out of this size because we have an array of 9 things and we want to do that 9 times over. We have an array of arrays issue. Whenever we use the map formula, we need our output to reduce to a single cell. So let's go one step further and now check how many tulips we get. So again, we're going to say sum of minus minus this equals a tulip. So we get 5 tulips. And at this point, we can now run this function through the map formula. So let's recap it. We turn it into a custom function with lambda. So lambda a, so an input. There's only one input for our custom function. That's going to be the pivot location, and that is here. So we change the pivot location to a. So let's just have a look at what that looks like. We've kind of just made ourselves another custom lambda, but it doesn't have an input yet. So if I was to put the input back at A1, we'd get our pivot back. However, we want to run this through the map formula to check all inputs. So let's say map, here's our array, and then the function we want to apply to that array is this. What it will do is the map formula will spill out, I need to close it off with a bracket, will spill out the result for all possible pivot locations. So we just need the maximum of that, so maximum. So let's put that into our formula bar. So I also haven't locked the pivot addresses there, so let's do that. There we go, we will get one error, which is this one, and that's because this garden is already all tulips. So the best option is actually to not do any pivots, and when we try to pivot on an X, nothing will change, so we keep all the tulips, but the question says you must make one pivot. So what we could do instead is we could change it so that our pivot locations are only going to be where there's not an X. So let's change our pivot locations here to be filter this, where this is not equal to an X. So now we're mapping across a shorter array so that we don't pivot on locations with an X in. Okay, level 4, we get into recursion, which was the next video in the programming chapter after the lambda helper functions, including map that we just recapped. So this is where we're going to need scan and reduce. Specifically in this one, reduce because we just want the final output. And at this point, the benefits of making the lambda have inputs of garden and addresses is really useful because we have a different garden of a different size. And what we want to do is do a flip on each of these addresses, one after the other, and see how many tulips are in the garden after the 10 flips. So I'm going to do this slowly again. We're going to pivot. This is the garden, so we want to say 2 row of this so that it goes into the same format as we had up here. Our addresses is going to be 2 row of this and this. And let's just lock all of this stuff because the garden is never going to change on these questions. It's always the same garden, just different order of pivots. Now our pivot, so the first one is this A3, and our size is still 1. So there's our first pivot. Now we want to change this into recursively working through the array. So how do we do that? Well, we say reduce. Our initial value, the thing that's changing all the time, is our garden. So that was this bit, the initial value. The array we want to iterate through is all of these addresses. And then if you remember from the scan and reduce video, we say lambda a v or any other 2 letters, and a is referring to our initial value, v is referring to each element of our array that we iterate through. So then our pivot is from the initial value, our addresses are the same, but our pivot is going to be v, it's going to be each item in this array. If we do that, we will end up with the final garden after all of these flips. So we've recursively done that now. And we want to find how many tulips there are. So we can say sum of minus minus that equals a tulip. Mr. Bracket, so the answer should be 9, which it is, matches the example. Let's just pull these down here for now and copy those in. And there we go. Just like magic, we have recursively performed our lambda over all these flipping points. And then the final question is exactly the same thing, but we're counting sunflowers instead of tulips, doing it over a much bigger garden, and our pivot is a size of 2 instead of 1. So let's just pull this formula out here and copy it down here. So let's just amend this. Our initial garden now is 2 row of this. We want to recursively iterate through all of these cells instead. And our addresses are 2 row of this and this. And we also want to check for sunflowers, not tulips. And that doesn't match the answer because I forgot to change the pivot size to 2. So let's change that to 2 and we match. So this should be the answer for question 5. So there you go, that's that case done. I hope in showing this, you can see the power of making a lambda up front. Doing this out in a model, it's just so many flips, so many pivots, so many distance calculations. And although I went through this quite slowly, just because the syntax is probably unfamiliar to a lot of you, I personally can actually write this out pretty quickly now. So if I was just to write this from scratch, now I have the lambda, it would be pretty rapid to do the case. So what a great example walkthrough. It covers distance calculations, maps, a bit of data, let, lambda helper functions with map, and scan and reduce. So I think this is a great case to practice all that stuff. And then the only other example I'm going to go through is Lana banana. So I went through this in the last video, but quite quickly, so I'll just slow it down a bit this time. We have a map of bananas. Lana banana, the monkey, gets placed in a cell, and she can move down, down left, or down right, and we want to know what the maximum bananas she can collect is. And we covered this last time, but let's go through it again. The trick was to change the bananas to a number 1. And then I'm going to copy this tab over for my workings. So someone actually gave me a tip on my last video that you can just control and click a tab to make a copy. I didn't even know that, so that's a nice shortcut. And yeah, I mentioned in the last video, but the trick to this one was to recursively work from the bottom row. So how many bananas can I get if I start in any of these cells? Well, it's just if the cell is a banana. Anything above that can be kind of calculated in a chain. So what's the max here? Well, it's if that's a banana, you'd get it plus anywhere you can go below. So it's just a max of these 3 plus whatever's in the cell here. And then you can fill your grid up like this. Let's drag that all the way up. And then I'm going to start at question 3 like I did last time. Indirect of m and our cell gives us how many bananas we can collect. Same thing for question 4. And then question 5 here, if we've picked up a banana, we can't pick one up on the next row. So again, with these type of dynamic programming questions, you need to always think about working from the bottom up. So if we're on a banana here, then we can't collect what's below. So let's just amend our formula to say if we're on a banana, so if here, then it's going to be the max of whatever we can get 2 rows down, which is these. Otherwise, it's what we had before. And we also need to add the banana we'd collect from that location. So if we're on a banana, we can only get from 2 rows down plus the banana we're on. Otherwise, we're not on a banana, so we can just get everything below us. So hopefully that makes some sense. Let's drag that all the way up. We need to just treat this one slightly differently because we'll get a ref error because our 5 cells will go out there. So this is the max of here. Let's drag that up. And we can say indirect of M and our cell. So that's quite complicated. I don't expect you to understand that right away, but don't worry too much because these dynamic programming cases kind of almost never come up. I think this might be one of the only real examples of official cases. But we mentioned it in the combinatorics video. Think of your possible paths. There's going to be 3 steps at each one, 3 times 3 times 3 over and over again. You see the number gets too big, discount that approach immediately and look for something else. And this is the something else you look for. So let's recap the method. Always start from the bottom. What can you collect? And then reuse that calculation next. So if I'm on a banana, then I can't get what's below me. All I can get is what's reachable 1 row from that. Otherwise, I'm not on a banana, so I can collect anything in the row below that's reachable. So we just go up the chain with that pyramid each time, and then we know the maximum from any spot. So it's a super clever kind of puzzle solution, this really interesting case. And actually the same author as the flower power case. So Harry is a great kind of programming type case author. Anyway, that's it. There will be one more video which will be a recap of the series, where to go next, learning resources. I also want to discuss the new platform because I haven't talked about that. And that's it. The first round is on 22nd of January. Today is the 13th. So you've got just over a week to digest this course if it's of any use to you. Hopefully it is. There was a lot here, but we'll cover all that in the wrap up. So see you next time.